This is the Rebel Author Podcast, where we talk about books, business, and occasionally bad words. Hello, Rebels, and welcome to episode 241 of the Rebel Author Podcast. Today, I'm joined by Stephanie Bond, a lovely, wonderful human who I thoroughly enjoyed talking to. So I hope that you enjoy this episode on serial fiction. To last week's comments, first of all, we've got a comment from AMAC Descendant on Liz's episode. As much as many of your listeners appreciated this episode, it seems you really needed the message yourself. Take care. You are very special and worthy of rest well. Thank you. And then Kerry Hudisky, author, said, this episode reminded me of my worst burnout episode. My daughter was in the NICU and I was there all day, every day. And one day I felt dizzy and blacking out. Ended up in the emergency room with an IV in my arm because of stress and exhaustion, and on top of being dehydrated. So I have been more mindful of how my body reacts and take a step back. I love the idea of a done list. I use rainbow holographic stars in my bullet journal. I scrapbook in a travel journal, and I use the HP Sprocket printer as that syncs up with the app on your phone. And I have a stockpile of paper. Especially, I'm taking Tiny Rebel out on her first state road trip in May. The pictures print out on sticker paper, so you can add them right to your journal, and then you can write around the pictures and stickers, washi tape, and all the things to decorate the pages. I love that. I'm guessing that was in reference to me asking for tips and tricks for travel journaling for the New Zealand trip, which is now booked. We have paid, fully booked, locked down. The only thing left to do are the visas and just a bunch of paperwork, basically printing out things. We need to find some suitcases and then, of course, pack. But no, I think we are pretty much there. We have our trip dotted, crossed, T'd, whatever you want to say. And oh my fucking God, I don't think I've ever been more excited. I'm also terrified because it's 24 days out of the office. Of course, I won't be able to not work. I will inevitably do some work in the evenings, but mostly just to keep on top of the inbox and stuff. I don't think I'll be writing. I don't think I'll be planning. I think I'm just going to take 24 days off. oh God. I'm like nervous laughing, even talking about it. And I just, it's a lot, but it's needed. I don't know what I'm going to do about the podcast yet. I am pretty sure that I will record intros to one or two of them, and then maybe there'll be an introless episode. I'm not sure because I think it's 3 weeks. I've got to look at where the dates cross over. But yeah, oh my goodness me. So, okay, my personal update then. I have been writing. I have also, I don't quite know when I finished the annotations, but I have now finished the annotations for the book. I don't know if that was before or after I recorded the last episode. April was approximately 48 years long. Fuck me, that month did not end. But it was my best month ever. So that's very exciting. And also today, as I record this, is the 1st of May, which is my 5-year anniversary of being full-time. I am aware that I owe you an episode. I have started writing notes, but of course my accounts and my books are not signed off. I think I might just go ahead. I know the final figure for what I earned last year, but I might not have quite as a might not have quite as much of a breakdown as I necessarily wanted, but I think that's okay. I can give you the update. So that will be coming. And I'm super excited for that, to give you all of those lessons, which I'm also finding very hard to pull together because I still feel like I'm kind of experiencing those lessons. So what else have we done in the last week? Yes, well, I finished off the Kickstarter. I've been writing. I'm at 35,000 words in the book. A very slow week. Actually, I didn't write as much as I wanted to, or I thought I was going to. I have also decided to take projects off my to-do list. So originally I think I was going to publish 4 or 5 books this year. I'm now only publishing the Vampire Trilogy. And I am going to write more than that, but I'm not going to publish. And the reason for that is I had always decided that this year would be the year that I sacrificed publishing in order to get ahead. So I am going to end up at the end of this year either 2 books or 2.5 books in the bank, so to speak. And then hopefully by the end of February, I should have the whole of 2025's books written, at which point I will spend 2025 writing 2026's books. But that essentially means that I'm ahead enough that I can take a bit more rest, because I think it's been really quite obvious this last week that I am at the physical limit of my physical ability. Not helped by the number of evenings I worked over the last month, over April. Won't do that again. I cleared the schedule this week, so, I say that. And then I had to work really late on Monday because of an accounting issue, which still is not fixed, but almost there. So anyway, I am slowing down. Not slowing down. I don't think that's a slow down. Shut up. Oh my God, you're so annoying, Sasha. Right. I am going to publish 3 books this year. I'm probably going to write 4.5 to 5, which is less than my ideal, but that's fine. I need to have more rest. So it is what it is, and I won't do as many things as I said I was going to do, like going forward. I'm going to say no to more things. I'm also going to look at a reader signing event in America next year. I am doing Vegas, and I will do another Kickstarter to finish off the trilogy, but I think the Kickstarters next time will be done after and not... Or they'll be done first, but then I need the whole series written, if that makes sense, which means I have to be 3 books ahead. So I'm trying to figure out those things. I've been doing lots of planning, replanning, trying to work out what the best schedule would be for me for the next sort of 2 years. So mostly fiction. I will still do some webinars and bits and bobs, but at the moment I still feel like I'm in this learning period with business, and so I don't feel like I can write another non-fiction book at the moment. I just feel like it's fiction that's coming out of me. I do think there is a non-fiction book that I will write that will be about business and probably mindset, but I'm not ready to write that yet. I still feel like it's brewing and percolating, which I know is different to my normal craft books. But I think maybe I feel like I'm almost ready to write that business and mindset book, but not yet. Still got to do some more learning. Okay, that is enough from me. The Rebel of the Week this week is Lauren. Lauren says, I have a Rebel of the Week confession. I can't tell anyone, but I feel so sneaky. I'm currently using my too light government job downtime to write smut that I've just started publishing, complete with with using my own modelling photos for covers. Oh my God! It's so fun, and I love creating this alter ego. Thank you for sharing your experiences with writing smut. It made me realise I can have fun and still be a real writer. Oh my God, I fucking love this. I literally love this. I absolutely adore this rebellion. I think I love it because obviously, I had a government job for a while where I was also using my downtime to write books, although not smart at that point. But yeah, oh my goodness me, this has made my fucking day. Thank you so much for sending in that rebellion. If you would like to be a Rebel of the Week, please do send in your story. It can be any kind of rebellion, something big, something small, or something in between. And we are always running low. So please do send them in. You can email your Rebel story to Becca over on rebelauthorpodcast@gmail.com. Welcome, and a huge thank you to Nina J. Fox and Jen. And of course, a giant thank you to my existing patrons. If you would like to support the show and get early access to all of the episodes, as well as bonus content like our Slack community, the Poison and Prose sessions, and our masterclasses, of which we are doing a middle grade book for this next one, then you can from as little as $2 a month by visiting patreon.com/Sasha Black. This episode is sponsored by Kobo Writing Life, Kobo's free, fast and easy self-publishing platform. KWL was built by authors for authors, and their team of dedicated book lovers is always working hard to help you reach new readers around the world. With this in mind, Kobo has developed a way for authors to reach audiobook listeners with direct audiobook upload. You can now publish an audiobook right in your Kobo Writing Life account, as easily as you can publish an ebook. You can create a customizable table of contents, set the price in 16 different currencies, and even set up a pre-order for your audiobook with no date limitations. There's no exclusivity, and you will always have control of your pricing. And once your audiobook is published, there are lots of promotional opportunities. Kobo even have customizable social assets that you can download to share on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, making it even easier for you to reach this growing market. If you're a KWL author and don't yet have access to the audiobooks tab or the promotional mailing list, email the team at writinglife@kobo.com and they'll hook you up. Don't forget you can purchase audiobooks on kobo.com and they will download directly to your free Kobo app or reader. If you want to learn more about KWL, check out the Kobo Writing Life podcast, available wherever you get your podcasts, and find them on social. Create your free account today at kobo.com/writinglife. That's it from me this week. Let's get on with the episode. Hello and welcome to the Rebel Author podcast. Today I'm joined by Stephanie Bond. Stephanie published her first book with Harlequin Enterprises over 25 years ago. Since then, she's written dozens of books for Harlequin, HarperCollins, Bantam, and St. Martin's Press. She began self-publishing with Amazon Shorts around 2005, then broke ties with her publishers and launched a self-publishing business in 2011. She's written over 100 romance and mystery novels and sold more than 7 million copies of her books. In 2016, Stephanie launched a self-hosted daily serial on her website and is here today to talk about how writing a serialized memoir doubled as a content marketing piece. So hello and welcome.
Hello, Sasha Black. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for joining me. And actually, just rereading that, because I read your bio the other day when I was writing up the questions. Do you know your Clifton strengths?
I don't, but I should because I've heard you talk about yours so much.
I'm so interested. And
One of these days I'm going to get back up. I'm going to do it.
Please do it. I'll be fascinated. Yeah. I've got my suspicions, but I'll wait until you tell me. But okay, I mean that is a pretty fucking impressive bio. But would you like to sort of go into a little bit more detail and just tell everyone about your career? Like, how did you get to where you are today?
Gosh, I've been doing this for so long. So my first book came out in the mid 1990s. So yeah, 30 years. This was my second career. My degree is in computer science. So writing wasn't something I always wanted to do, but I was always a big reader. So I guess looking back, I probably knew more about what I wanted to do when I was like a 9 or 10-year-old because my nose was always in a book.
Yeah.
So it was a circuitous route, but I eventually made my way to writing and publishing. And yeah, it's been 30 years. Wow.
Yeah. What is your secret? Because your skin is fabulous and I don't understand how you've been in publishing for 30 years.
Oh, it's the filter on Zoom. That's the secret.
Oh, stop it. What do you think? And this, I did not prepare you for this, but already I told you we'd go on tangents. What do you think is the secret to a long career in writing?
Oh gosh, flexibility for sure, resilience. I guess just knowing that everything is fleeting and whatever you're going through, good or bad, it's probably gonna, this too shall pass. So just be ready.
What does resilience look like for you? Because this is a topic for me that I've been trying to build up my resilience in strengths coaching, therapy, all the rest of it. So I'm fascinated by what resilience looks like for other people.
Oh, healthy, being healthy for sure. Just it's one thing that I've coming to bear with, the sedentary lifestyle and sitting a lot. So just having the mental health and the physical health just to endure everything.
Yeah, I think that's so true.
And friendships. The friendships that I made early in my career, I still love all of those people and still see them and talk to them regularly. And it's really important that you get to know your own people. You find them as quickly as possible early in your career, and they will help sustain you.
One of the things that you said about, and I don't even know, I think you just said mental health, but
Hmm.
it was the pause in which you phrased it that made me realize it's not just about being kind to ourselves or in being kind to ourselves. It's like choosing to give yourself a piece of joy. Like I feel like a lot of the time I restrict myself from
Hmm.
doing stuff that I know would bring me joy. And I don't know why I do that. Like obviously society and all the shit that we've, created in our own brains over the years. But actually, there are lots of reasons for deteriorating mental health, but one thing that we can do is allow ourselves that little piece of joy. Like, would just walking away from the desk and going outside and sitting outside give you a piece
Hmm.
of joy? Well, do it, for God's sake. You'll probably come up with the idea anyway. Or would sitting
Right,
on your chair and reading for 20 minutes give you some joy? Well, fucking do it then. Like,
right.
why do we prevent ourselves from doing the things we know will bring us joy? I really don't know.
Well,
Anyway.
early in my career, because the life cycle of creating a book was so long that by the time the book came out, you were, I don't know, you'd already moved on to other things. So it really was hard to stop and celebrate that particular book. It's easier now, but one thing I started doing early in my career is buying a charm for every book that I wrote.
Ah,
And the charm had something to do with the book that would remind me every time I looked at the charm of that book. So over the years, I get to look back over my charms. Those
and
have
are
been
you
my
still
little
doing it?
trophies. Mhm.
Oh
Yes.
my God, I love that. Do you know how many you have?
Oh, over 100.
That's incredible. That's
Yeah.
absolutely amazing. Oh my goodness. Because I've already started to struggle to count books, especially when you like bundle things and you're like, oh, well, it's a
Hmm.
new product, but it's not a new book. And then my son was like, no, mummy, you can only count brand new stories. And I was like, right, okay. Well, that's now our new metric. So like the number's slightly lower, but it's still,
Yeah.
it's still growing.
I remember my longest critique partner when we were publishing our first books that many years ago. I said, we need to start keeping a body of work document so that we can document every book, the editor we worked with, all of the anything about the book that was particular. She said, we'll never forget these
Ah,
books. Uh, and it's like looking back on it, yeah, yeah, you do. You do. You think you won't, but you do.
you do.
So yeah,
That
document those books.
That's so, do you know what? That's really interesting because I keep an asset sheet, but
Hmm.
actually, I haven't included things like the editor, the cover designer. So I think I might have to go back and ask my VA to include. I've done things like what formats are it in, what language is it
Hmm.
in, what's the price, what's the link, what's the
Hmm.
ISBN, all of that stuff. But I didn't include things like the
Oh,
editor or the cover designer, or so yeah, I think I'm
or
gonna have to go
great
back and add that.
reviews.
Yeah. I hide from them. I let Becca, do you know what I do actually? I let Becca go and uh pull them all, or she goes and reads them after I get over
Mhm.
100, and then she does a summary so that it's not like I don't, because if I yeah, it would just send me, I will want to like people please and deliver, and you can't people please for everybody, so I just ignore it. But we are here to talk about serialized fiction. So let's start with the basics. What is it? And how does it differ to I hate the word normal, but like your
Hmm.
typical non-serialized book, so
Right,
a fiction book or a series,
right,
like what are the differences?
right. So in its essence, serialized fiction is just fiction that's broken down into small segments. And it's best if it's plotted that way, and it's best if the reader can experience it that way.
Okay. And so can you turn a book you've already written into serialized
Hmm.
fiction, or is it
Yeah.
is there like a structural difference?
Yeah, people do. And I see, especially on formats, platforms like Radish, where people will take a book and they'll break it down by chapter and put it out by chapter. And that's okay. Every book can be serialized, but really it is better. It's a better experience for the writer and for the reader if it's plotted and written as a serial.
Okay. So just like a really minor question, because obviously you've been
Mhm.
doing this for a few years now. What happens if you are continually marketing and somebody comes along and they've missed 10 episodes?
Yeah.
because you maybe we should have started with how you're doing it, but just for
Hmm.
example, let's say it lasts, 5 months, 6 months, and
Hmm.
somebody's comes to it 2 months in. What do they not join? Do they go back and read? Do they get access to it? Like how does that work when
Okay.
they find you in the middle?
All right. Let me explain how I do it, and people can hopefully take from it what they will. It's called a self-hosted serial, and I put it on my website. So I host a daily serial. So there's a 24-hour period where the that day's episode is on the website. And if people miss a day or two, typically they don't miss too much of the story. But if they want to catch up, they can go into my Facebook group. There's this group for just for the serial readers, and people in my group will do recaps of the day, so people can catch up there. But also, I sell a novella on that's exclusive to Amazon, so it's in KU. Uh, that is a month's worth of episodes. So if people want to catch up or if people want to read ahead, they can get the novella because it's available at the first of the month. So my serials are 6 months in duration. So they usually run from July 1 to December 31. So in total, there are 6 novellas. There's one for each month. And if someone wants to come to our website every day, they get the entire serial for free, or they can buy the novellas, or they do a mixture. So some readers will um, read it every day for free and then maybe fall a little behind, or maybe want to read ahead and then they'll get a novella. Some people will catch up with the novellas and then join the Facebook group and follow along every day. Some people wait till the end of the serial and then buy it in print or in audio. And then some people just mix it up. The good thing about this format is it lets the reader choose the best way to read the story.
So do you have to actively manage that whichever serial is live? Do you have to take it down and put another one up? Or do you have like an automated app that does it for you? Because that seems like a lot of work if you're having to go in every day, or at least you'd have to be super consistent.
Well, so it's on my website, and really an episode goes up just like a post. So if you were doing a blog post, for example, that's the same plugin that I use for my website. So it publishes at a certain time every day, and then and then it expires just
Ah,
before the
you
other one
expire
publishes.
it.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, that's very clever. Oh, that's really clever. I didn't know that you could expire a post, but
Mhm.
okay, so you can schedule everything in advance.
Yes.
Okay,
Mhm.
so are you writing in advance or do you write daily? Like, I mean, it sounds like you're writing in advance because you do a month, you release a novella. Actually, that's another question. So when you're like posting these daily, have they been edited? Are they first drafts like sort of Ream or Patreon or
Mhm.
yeah, what is that kind of, talk to me about that.
Yeah, no, they're pretty raw. They go up pretty much from my keyboard. And I warn my readers, you're getting this from my keyboard. So yeah, it's probably not going to be as smooth as something else, but my readers seem to really like that. So that's okay. And I only write a month ahead of time because I'm looking for feedback from my readers and I'm seeing what they're responding to. So I'm pivoting as I go. I like that. I think not every writer can write that way, but it keeps it exciting for me and fun.
So you don't outline or plan in advance.
I do a loose outline, so I know what my month turns will be because it's a 6 month serial. There are certain hooks at the end of every month, to keep going to the next. If you're reading the novellas, I want, that big hook at the end of the month so that the person gets, is interested in buying the next novella. So I know what my hooks are. I I know what my structure is in terms of things that are going to repeat in the serial. Um, like, for example, in my first serial, Coma Girl, she is in a hospital bed and everything's happening around her. And so there's something different every day going on in the hospital room. But I built in certain things that happen every week so the reader can start to count on those and look forward to those. And like every Sunday, there's the detective visits her room and is having this monologue with himself. He's talking to her, but he's talking about the case, and there's a mystery as to how she got into the bed. So we're learning about that, but we also learn about this detective character when he comes every Sunday. So if you build in regular things like that into the serial, it gives you a little bit more structure to hang the story on, and it gives the reader something to look forward to. But I also take advantage of holidays. So 4th of July, Thanksgiving, Christmas, I build all of those holidays into the story
Oh my goodness, because
because
they're happening live.
right, right. So it's really told in diary format. So in my serials, when they start July 1, it's July 1 in the story. So that just makes it a little easier for me to just keep track of the story and for the reader as well. So if you're planning a serial, I would advise that the story be take place in the time frame that you're telling it. So for example, if you're doing a month-long serial, but you're doing one episode a week and it's a four episode serial, then maybe a week passes between the episodes in the actual story. It just makes it easier for the writer and easier for the reader too, and it makes it feel like you're experiencing it real time.
I was gonna say it's got to feel really immersive, like to do that, like because and I'm guessing like the seasons will change in the
Right.
story as
And
the
the weather.
seasons start
Hmm.
changing. Yeah.
Right.
Oh my God, that's so
It
fun.
it makes it more of an experience for the reader for sure. And I think that's why so many of my readers say that they buy the novellas and read ahead so they know what's happening. Like they want to know what's going to happen July 31st, so they buy the novella. But then they read it and then they go back into the Facebook group and they experience it every day with the people in the group because they want that immersive experience. They want to talk about what happened on that day so they can actually relive it.
So are you posting unedited novellas onto Amazon as well?
Well, those are more edited, I would say. They're
Okay.
cleaner, they're a little cleaner. But I always say at the end of them, this is coming straight from my keyboard. So if you see a mistake, please let me know about it. And I pay bounties for mistakes. This goes back to my programming days, my coding days, when, no, I don't know if you remember this, but early on, companies would release beta versions of their software and then pay bounties for mistakes. And it gave the user an experience of using the product, but also finding little glitches and letting the company know about it, but being rewarded for it. So that's what I do. I let my readers know if you find something that's wrong, let me know. The beauty of self-publishing is I can go in and fix it.
That's amazing. Um, this I find this so interesting because it's so not like how my brain works. So, with the so it starts on the 1st of July.
Right.
You've pre-written a month of episodes. So do
Mhm.
you then write in July the next episodes for
Right.
August?
Right. I'm writing the July episodes in June, and I'm writing the August episodes in July.
And how long does it take you to write? Because I'm assuming it's not going to take you all month to write, or does it? Do you
Yeah.
write one a day and then?
I usually write a couple a day as
Okay.
I'm going along. So the episodes are about 700 words,
Okay.
so not very long, right?
Yeah.
So they're very. It's fun to write in this way,
They're
and it's
extremely consumer, like digestible. Like,
right, right, and it's part of what drew me to writing the serials in the first place. Is like this really fits the way that I like to write in these little short spurts. I've got a little chunk that's written and it's done. Um, I did have to play around a little bit with the length of the episodes because I learned in the first serial Coma Girl, the novellas were pretty chunky, but by the time I finished, I've got six of those. And the print book, that made the print book rather large. And I wanted to keep it down to a certain dollar amount. So I realized going forward, I was going to have to make those a little shorter so I wouldn't have this big chunky product at the end. So now they're just a little shorter. I try to end with a book that's around 1,000 words, 100,000 words, 90,000, something like that. So then you just break that down and back into that number.
So let's talk about the craft of that, because it's quite an art form to be able to write what essentially is a beginning, middle, and end in 700 words. That's not many words. Like, I can't even get a sex scene in 700 words. So what is the craft behind that? Like, how are you doing that? Obviously, I mean, over time you've developed the skill and do it intuitively, but for those who are approaching it, how do you do it?
Right. So this is another thing I talk to writers about. Like another reason that serials are fun for me is because I've never been the writer who liked writing those transitional scenes. You know, the scenes where people are in cars going from point A to point B, or they're walking, or they're thinking, or they're just getting somewhere. I hated writing those scenes. So in a serial, you can just drop people into a scene in progress, and you just give them enough information, so you don't have time, and you don't have the words to go into a lot of detail, and you've just got to get in and out very quickly. But it makes it it's a surgical way to write. It's exciting, and then remember, you've got to get that hook on the very end of every episode.
So let's talk about that, because that was definitely one of my, I don't even think I've looked at my questions, but that was definitely one of my questions.
Mhm.
I think I want to know two things. How do you make sure each day there's a point to it? Because like you say, you're making sure that you have to be surgical with it. There's no room for fluff or transitions or page long descriptions of red wine or whatever. But also equally, then every single day matters to the
Mhm.
story. So
Mhm.
how do you make sure that every single day matters? Because I mean, how many days are there between the first of, I mean, well, there's got to be 200, well, I don't know,
There's 180 days.
180 days. So there's
Yeah.
180 chapters in your novel.
Right.
That's, how do you make, I mean, that is essentially 180 scenes.
Mhm. Right. So in my first serial, Coma Girl, there's somebody coming into her room that's different. So that's the structure of the story is she's a stationary character and everyone else is revolving around her. And my second serial, Temp Girl, she's working for a temp agency. So she's the entity that's moving around, and everything else is stationary. So if you structure the story in a way that something different can happen every day, that is like a little leg up going into the story. As far as the hooks are concerned, at the end of every episode, you need to start with a character where there are lots of layers and things can be revealed all along. It's always good to end on a question. That's a great way to end an episode, is a question where she's, thinking about something. My serials, I should have said, are all in first person point of view. So we're all in the head of the heroine. So if things are getting revealed about her that we didn't know before, that means a character is asking or revealing something about her that the reader even didn't know. So those are good hooks. And then you need a plot hook, of course, at the end of every month, or at least that's the way I structure mine. It's good if you have um, a character who's in maybe a temporary situation for the length of your serial. One of my serials is Lottery Girl. So it's a girl at the very beginning. She's working 3 jobs and she's barely making it. And then she wins the lottery. So the 6 month serial is her in this new world of figuring out how to spend money and what it's like to have money, and the ups and downs of that. So it's good if you can put the character in a situation they've never been in before. That's a good way to approach plotting your serial. And then everything can be new in the next 180 days, or if you have a 3 month serial for the next 90 days.
Oh, this is so fascinating to me. Like, I feel like I write very good hooks at the end of chapters, because my readers often tell me they really struggle to put the books down, which tells me
Mhm.
there is some line of pacing. I should know, but apparently I just vomit the words down. But we do, it's all intuitive when you get to a certain point. But one of the things that I struggle, particularly in fantasy, and I know that you're writing more contemporary, but in fantasy is those reveals of information. Like, and I find it quite daunting to think I need to reveal something in 180 different things I've got to reveal. But I suppose in hearing you talk, they don't necessarily all have to be mystery elements in the way of we're solving a crime or we're solving a, how she got into the bed, for example. They could be like a character reveal or a relationship, pardon me, reveal, or, yeah, I don't know.
Right. Or maybe an object that's found. That'd be a great hook.
Yeah.
Something like that. Um, I, the one thing that I've will warn people about when you start this, I'll tell you a couple of mistakes I made. Um,
That was literally going to be my next question. Like,
okay.
what are the mistakes do you see?
Well, because each episode is a new day, I realized I was running into trouble when the mystery is solved because there's usually a day where the heroine is in danger. Like there's a point where she's in danger. She is realized, the killer or what happened, or that she solved the mystery, and that has put her in some in danger in some way. But I need for that to be a cliffhanger, right? What's going to happen to her? But I also need, if I start a new episode, that means then it's a new day. And so then what happened? With the cliffhanger that you left off on yesterday, there's too much time in between. So I realized I was going to have to make those particular days were going to have to happen around midnight so they could span 2 days. Does that make sense?
Oh, that's clever. So then what do you do? So if let's say it was the 31st of July and it starts at like 11 o'clock at night or something, and then
Mhm.
clearly goes over midnight. The next day, do you still publish the 1st of July episode, 1st of August episode?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Ah, that's really interesting.
Mhm.
Oh, so all of your kind of date. Oh, that's so interesting. I love this. Oh, sorry, before we go on to like, no, okay, I'm just seriously, my brain is exploding because I want to ask all of the questions. Are there any other mistakes that you see writers making, or is that kind of the major one in terms of like,
That's the major one logistically. I guess you could write yourself into a corner if you don't write it enough ahead of time. Personally, I have done that a couple of times, but then you challenge yourself to write yourself out of those corners. So I would just say go for it. I mean, plan ahead as much as you feel like you need to. But when I started this serial, it was experimental. It was something, for my readers. It's a gift for my readers because it's a free story that they can enjoy with other readers. So I felt like I really couldn't mess up. But thankfully, my readers came along for the ride and they've helped me all along the way. And if you do it in a way where you can get feedback from your readers as you go along, that will actually help the momentum of the story as well.
so how do you spend the first part of the year?
uh, Other projects, I have some mystery series that are ongoing that I'm constantly trying to put out new additions in those series. I've also gotten a lot of rights back recently to early titles, so I'm revamping those books.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah, yeah, that's also a lot of work because my books that I've gotten back, like I just recently re-released the very first book that I sold, and oh my goodness,
Wow.
I had to touch every sentence in that book when I went back to revamp it. So I'm doing some of that. I'm also working to get the serial in other formats on the other 6 months. So when the serial's over, um, I put it out in print. I also put it out in audio. And then after a few months, I'll also do box sets of the novellas. And then in my first serial, Coma Girl, I had it translated into German. So I'm constantly trying to find new formats. Oh, and also I put Coma Girl and Temp Girl into serial podcasts.
Oh,
So those are
wow.
available for people to listen to. And those are kind of cool because I took the audio files, but I had them enhanced with sound effects and music. So yeah, if you want to check out my serials for free, go and listen to Coma Girl and Temp Girl wherever you get your podcasts.
So you've got 2 years and then it will be your 10-year anniversary of doing them. Will you do anything like a Kickstarter or anything, do you think, for your anniversary?
I don't know. That's really a good idea. I'm writing that down.
Okay. I think that would be so cool. You could do
Oh,
like a Whopper, Whopper Kickstarter. That would be
yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, what you're referring to is this year was my eighth serial, or last year was my eighth serial. So this year will be my ninth. And yeah, you're right. At the 10th serial is a good time to pause and
Do,
think what's
do
next.
yeah, or do
Yeah.
some kind of anniversary special edition or
Oh,
something. I
that's a
don't
good
know.
idea. Yeah,
Yeah.
writing it down.
Yeah, I think that would be so cool, especially because, well, it actually came from you because you were saying this is your gift to readers, right?
Mhm.
So, you
Mhm.
know, an anniversary or a special edition is essentially a gift to readers as well. So, okay, like what? Let's talk about the marketing. So you've mentioned that you have a Facebook group
Mhm.
and that you put it on your website. How do you draw? So that obviously works for your established readers.
Mhm.
How do you find new readers, especially for something that is on your website
Mhm.
and therefore you have to drive all of the traffic to it? So it's not
Right.
like, I don't know, I can't think. Well, social media, people find you because of hashtags and whatever. But
Mhm.
yeah, so how are you finding new readers?
Well, let me say that when I first started writing the serials, one of my goals was to bring people back to my website. I felt like when I started this in 2016 that I was, I don't know, annexing out, co-opting out my readers, to all these third-party platforms. So I wanted to remind readers that to get information about me, the primary source is my website. So that's why I decided to host it on my website instead of putting it out, in a different format or on a different platform. Um, so I did start with just my core readers. And this was a surprise to me. I didn't realize this was going to happen, but they did the marketing for me because they went out and told their reader friends, oh, come and join us as we read this serial every day and talk about it and come into the group and, just have this fun experience. So now I've realized before the serial starts, I tell people, please go out and invite reader friends to join us. I let 10 days accumulate, the first 10 days of the serial so that people have time to just sort of get into the story and remember that, we're starting a new one and to invite all their friends to come and join in. And that seems to be working. Really, the readers have done the best marketing for me. So that's been um, the most successful marketing that is the marketing that I didn't do. But then I mentioned the podcast as well. I do some social media as well, but that's maybe not my forte. But then what I found is that each serial markets each new serial. So typically when people find me, if they find me in KU, because all of the novellas are in KU. So if they find one set of serial novellas, they usually get drawn into the other serials as well. So this does become this cumulative audience that you're building with every serial.
So you first of all, that's like the most indie author thing you could ever say, that you want to bring the readers to you. Like, hell yes, that is what we all want to do. Like, that is our like model, is all about, ownership and control. And I do also, it's taken me a long time to realize it, but that's now what I'm doing. I'm now using, like TikTok or whatever to actually push them back to me. So I'm
Mhm.
kind of trying to use the platform in the same way the platform's using me for content, right? Well, I'm using it to drag my readers back towards me, or trying anyway. But saying that, there are a lot of serialized fiction platforms, things like Wattpad, Royal Road, AO3. Do you put any of your stuff there to try and drag people back to your website, or no?
No, I have a few books on Radish, and it was that was early on when Radish first launched. And I think I mentioned earlier that you could take a book and chop it into pieces and put it out there as a serial. And that's kind of what I did with some of my books on Radish. But I don't know, I just feel like it's a little it's just not as effective because
Yeah.
the story wasn't written to be consumed in a serialized fashion. I think it does change the experience. That just wasn't as successful. The people at Kindavella called me when they launched and thought, this would be a great chance to put my serials onto Vella. But I decided that would be too confusing to my readers. I had gone to great lengths to sort of train my readers that there's going to be a new serial every year on July 1. Come to my website. This is the only place you can get it for free every day. And then that the novellas were available through Amazon. I was afraid that if I started chopping that up, that people would get confused.
You
And
you wouldn't put your like older ones into Vela.
I mean, I could. I just don't know what the advantage would be.
Yeah, because you've already bundled it, and so obviously you
Right.
can't have it released as a bundle if it's in Vela, so you then have to delist it, I
I
suppose.
think you can. I think they will let you, but there has to be some delay there, if I'm not mistaken.
You have to take it out, so it can be in Vela,
Yeah.
but it can't be for sale at the same time. So you'd
Yeah.
have to put it into Vela, and then when you're done in Vela, you take it out, and it can then be for sale.
Yeah.
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 Um, okay, so let's talk about the business side of it. So obviously you're putting it out for free.
Hmm.
And then you've talked about a novella a month, and then you've talked about bundling. So the free, what is the pricing strategy for like the novella a month and then the
Hmm.
bundles? And you've mentioned like different formats and stuff. So are you doing do you do hardbacks, paperbacks? You've mentioned podcasts. So do you do the
Yes.
audio? Like talk to me about the business kind
Yes.
of structure of it all.
Okay, so yes, the readers can get it for free if they come to my website every day. If they want to catch up or read ahead while the serial is in progress, they can get the novellas. The novellas are $2.99.
Quick
Exclusive.
question.
Yes.
Quick question on the daily. Do you also send it to your mailing list, or do you? How does
No,
that? No.
no, I
Okay.
don't push it out. All right. Gosh, there's so many details about this. Um, so one of the things that I realized is that to make the serial successful, it's important that you give the reader um, something to do as
Okay.
part of the interaction. Um, it's less successful, I think, if you push material to the reader. If they go out, though, if they take it upon themselves to go out and seek the information, it's more valuable to them. So I decided early on I would not be pushing it out, that it's there if they want to come and read it. But I think that is more successful because it actually gives them an active participation in the serial. Does that make
Hmm.
sense?
Yes, it does. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's why TikTok worked so well early on because they had to take action. Therefore, they
Yes.
felt more ownership over the fact they'd
Yes.
gone and got this book. Therefore, then when they would then talk about it back on the app, it would make them more feral almost,
Yeah.
which is why I'm so interested by TikTok Shop because obviously that reduces some of the friction between them and getting access to the book, I think. But I
Hmm.
don't know.
Hmm.
Obviously, TikTok Shop is working. But anyway, yeah.
Hmm. Hmm. And so the novellas are $2.99. There's six of them in all, and I put on the cover part one of six, part two of six, so that anyone stumbling across them in the Kindle store knows what they're getting, and knows that there are six parts, to the entire serial. And they're meant to be read, of course, chronologically. And then at the end, I do make the total serial in its entirety available in print. And I put it in audio. It usually takes a while, because of the in-person narration. I don't do them, but I have them beautifully narrated by some of the best narrators that I can find. And those are wide. Those are available everywhere. And then, like I said, they're podcasts. I've I've only put one of them in German translation, but I'd be open to doing more of that. I don't think the serial format is as popular in other languages, not yet, but I think that's coming.
Do you sell on, like, is your website transactional? So do you sell on your website as well, or do you put them
I
into
don't.
KU?
No, I don't sell direct. So the novellas are in exclusive to Amazon. The e-novellas are. Of course, the print books are wide and the audio is wide. But yeah, that's just another way for readers to get them. Is if they're in KU, then all the novellas for all the serials are there available to them.
So what do you do differently? And you could answer this maybe with marketing or craft or how or business. What do you do differently with the serialized fiction that you do in the first 6 months of the year with your mysteries and other
Hmm.
books? Like, are there any other kind of differences between the two?
Oh gosh. Yeah, in my books that I do off season, most of those books have their multi-character. Maybe there's more than one point of view character in them. Typically my mystery series that I do, I've got Body Movers mystery series, and I've got a Two Guys Detective Agency, and those have characters in them with multiple points of view. That would be a lot harder to pull off in a serialized form. So that's one difference. Also, just they're not as long. So my books that I write off season are typically 50, 60,000 words in length. And then the serials, of course, are much longer than that in their entirety. Um, let's see. Oh, one thing I didn't mention is that I do have crossover characters. So by the first time I wrote Serial in 2016, I was in the middle of my Body Mover series, and really that's all my readers wanted. They just wanted more body movers. So I knew there would be a little pushback, and the fact that I had stopped for a little bit to write this other project, this Coma Girl project. So I pulled a character from Body Movers into the serial. And actually, it's the detective I mentioned earlier who visited every Sunday. Um, and that was a big hit. That drew a lot of readers from Body Movers series into the serial, into the Coma Girl serial. And so I've continued to do that. So every serial has crossover characters from other books of mine that I write in the off season.
Do you think there are certain types of story that suit serialization more than others? So I'm asking because the one serialized fiction that I've read was by Nikki St. Crow, and it's called what is it? Hot Vampire Next Door or something like,
Mm.
and it's very like, oh, I don't want to say anything bad because I absolutely loved it, but obviously it's not literary fiction, but I adore this. I've read all of it and I cannot stop. I cannot put it down, and I love it. I like wait, but I wait until she bundles, so I'm not reading it
Mhm.
in Kindle Vella. I'm wait because I can't, like, I need to read. I just want all of it all in one go. But yeah, do you think, I don't know, in terms of story, like, would a quest story work well? Or does it need to be a mystery? Do you know what I mean? Like, there are
Mhm.
certain types of, would a bog standard romance work, for example? Or,
I think as long as you have something that has momentum and something to keep the reader turning the page, like they need to find out something. So it's a mystery, or is the couple going to get together, or
a hunt for a
is the
MacGuffin, or,
right, is the quest going to be, is the mission going to be accomplished? All of those things will keep the story moving forward, and those are all great reasons to serialize a story. I think if you look at your story in terms of would it make a good TV series, that's a one way to look at whether it would make a good serial. Some TV series are best when they're binged. Some are better if you have spaces between the episodes and you can anticipate the next episode. Some stories are better as features, standalone 90-minute features. So if you look at your book in those terms, you can start to make those decisions about would this be a story that I could tell um, more effectively in a serialized fashion.
oh, I love, this has been so interesting to me because it's a completely new, like, form of story for me. And I know that I've read, like, I said I've read Hot Vampire Next Door, all of the episodes, but I've never attempted to write like this, and so I find it deeply fascinating. So thank you, because I feel like I've learned loads. My inner learner is really super happy. But this is the Rebel Author Podcast. So tell everyone about a time you unleashed your inner rebel.
Hmm. Gosh, this is hard for me because I've always been such a good girl. But there have been a couple of times. I have a couple of stories about when I was a rebel on the spot. And one of them was when I started university. My father wanted me to study art, and I wanted to, I wasn't talking a lot about what I wanted to do, but deep down, I wanted to study this brand new thing called computer programming. Remember, this was 1983. So that sounded like science fiction to my father, especially where we lived in rural Kentucky. Um, so I was just kind of keeping mum about it. But we were at a big family gathering, and someone asked me, "What are you going to major in at university?" And I said, I think I'm going to study computer programming. And my dad like breaks into the circle of people standing there and said, "It's just a fad, boys. She won't even be able to get a job when she gets out of school." Oh, he was so upset with me. He was so upset, but I did it, and yeah, it's I've been easy on Dad over that, but everyone in my family reminds him every chance they get that he said computers were just a fad. Um, so
Yeah,
anyway, yeah, that
quite a
was
long running one, I think.
so that was one moment that I look back on fondly and think, yeah, that served me well. But actually, when I sold my first book, that was another incident where I did something I was just completely out of character for me. But I was talking to an editor. She had read a cover letter that I had written. This was a workshop she was doing. She was reading cover letters blind and deciding whether she would you know ask for the material or not. And I was pitching this very serious family story. And she's like, yeah, 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 this story's fine. Send it to me. She was just very, blasé about it. But she said, whoever wrote this letter, will you introduce yourself to me at the end of the workshop? And so I was nervous and walked up and said, yeah, that was my letter. And she said, well, actually, I see humor. I saw a humorous voice in this letter. Do you write romantic comedy? And I'd never written any comedy at that point. And I said, of course I do. Yes, I write romantic comedy. And she said, well, I'm here to acquiring books for this new rom-com line. So what's a story that you have? So I pictured this idea from the top of my head.
Oh my
Um, I
God.
had read an article about pheromones recently, and I said, "Oh, it's this woman. She's signs up for a clinical study on pheromones and becomes irresistible to every man she meets." And she goes, "Oh, I love it. How much of it's written?" And I said, it's one of those stories that seems to be writing itself.
Ah!
So I can get you a proposal in a couple of weeks." And she's like, "Okay, send it."
Oh my
And
God.
so that was the first book that I sold, and I've written comedy ever since.
No way. Oh
Yeah.
my goodness me. Oh my, that is a real sliding door moment. Like if she
Yeah.
hadn't said that line about comedy, like where
Mhm.
would your career have
I
taken
know.
you?
I know. I was just thinking both of those rebellious moments just changed the trajectory of my life.
Oh, literally, I have like goosebumps thinking about that. That is absolutely crazy. I love that rebel story. Well, thank you for your time today. Would you like to tell everyone where they can find out more about you, your books, your serials, and anything
Yes.
else you'd like to add?
Well, I always send people to my website first. I mean, I'm on social media. You can find me there, but please go to my website, especially for writers or even readers out there who want to see how my serials unfold. At the moment, I'm unfolding a serial called Stories Behind the Stories. It's part memoir, part book list. It tells about how I got into writing and a little bit about the books that I have written so far. So that's out there for everyone to take in. It's free. Um, and then just to say that my next serial kicks off July 1. So please come and and follow along with all my other readers.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for your time today. And of course, a giant thank you to all of the show's listeners and all of the show's patrons. If you would like to get early access to all of the episodes, you can do so by visiting patreon.com/Sasha Black. I'm Sasha Black. You are listening to Stephanie Bond, and this was the Rebel Author Podcast. This week, I'm joined by the ever amazing Christina Stanley and Lucy Cook, and we're talking all about how to write a series. So join me next week for that.
Don't forget to tune in and subscribe on your podcatcher. And when you have a moment, please leave a review.